Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Off the Cuff. My name is Fred,
I'm Brian.
and I think we got a pretty solid one for you today.
So today we're going to be discussing our favorite press secretary to President Joe Biden. Just some comments she's made and about the whole debacle in Afghanistan and some other things. We also have cops and firefighters in California about to lose their jobs because they won't disclose whether they're vaccinated or not. And we're going to talk about the new Spider-Man No Way Home, right? Yeah, No Way Home trailer.
Basically the Spider-Man 3 on the Tom Holland trilogy.
Yeah. So that's the show for us today. So we're going to go ahead and get started on our favorite press secretary, Jen Psaki.
Good old Jen. So before we get started, the long and the short of it is, obviously, most people that are probably watching us have some background on, the whole Afghanistan thing and the debacle over there. We're not going to get too crazy into that because we've got a whole episode planned kind of just revolving around that whole debacle. But this is the very recent press conference that she had. And just, we've got probably like 2.5 minutes worth of footage that we're going to kind of break up, and just some of the things that were noteworthy for us. This first section, this first little clip, talks about completing the mission. So we'll go ahead and let's take a look at that, and we'll talk about it after.
Thank you, Jen. At the tail end of the president's remarks today about cybersecurity, he was asked about Afghanistan, and he made a joke.
I think Peter asked him that question.
The other Peter did, and he made a joke. So what's so funny?
Well, I think the question he was asked, if I remember correctly, was about when he will provide information about a decision on August 31st. I don't want to paraphrase the question if that was an inaccurate description of the question.
To a lot of people watching.
Of course, it's a very important question. And I think what he conveyed, is that he has not, what I can convey from here, I should say, is that as he stated yesterday, and as the Secretary of State just stated, we're on track to complete our mission by August 31st. Obviously, there are discussions, and the president received a briefing just this morning. As I noted, he asked yesterday for contingency plans, and he received a briefing on them this morning. These are incredibly serious issues, and there are discussions that are happening internally. And I'd note that in addition to the contingency plans that he requested, he also, I will reiterate, as we stated yesterday, that this is all contingent on us achieving our objectives and the continued coordination with the Taliban. And the president has spoken, I would say, to this issue. Peter, as you know, you've attended a number of these multiple times over the last several days. And he has also highlighted the fact that we are closely watching, closely following the threats from ISIS-K, which he also received a briefing on this morning.
All right. So, I've got opinions on Jen Psaki, so let me let you go ahead and start. And how do you feel about
all you, man, all you.
Okay. Well, so first and foremost, this whole thing she is just a mess. He is just a mess. What I don't understand and what bothers me the most about this whole thing, we'll start off right out the gate with the thing that pisses me off the most with this. Everybody talks trash about Trump. Everybody hated Trump, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But when what is it, Kayleigh McEnany? I can't even pronounce that. I love her, but I can't pronounce her name to save my life. But, when she went up there and she did a press conference, she didn't have to do a whole lot of clarifying what Donald Trump said, because Donald Trump tells you exactly what he's thinking, exactly what's going on. He doesn't mince words. He just says it like it is. And all she has to do is go out there and go, hey, stupid. This is what he said. It's pretty clear. But when we listen to this bozo, this clown walk up there, she spends half the time going, well, what I think Biden meant, or what I can say is probably what's going on from here. Like the fact that we have to go back and clarify what this moron had to say is 2/3 the problem, because he doesn't know where he's at half the time. He doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't know what's going on. He has no clue about anything. We've had this discussion a million times that he's a puppet, but
we're going to have this discussion so many more times going into the future. We're not even in a whole year into his presidency yet. We're only what, 6, 7 months.
And as much as I can't stand Jen Psaki, I feel a little bit of sympathy for, or at least empathy for her, because she has to go in there and she has to take that nonsensical, rambling drivel that Joe Biden has every time he does a speech and try to untwist that Celtic knot that's never ending and try to pull some sense out of it and make some sense out of garbled gibberish, like Alzheimer-ridden gibberish. And more power to her. That's a crummy job that I don't want.
I would definitely not want to do that job. That's for sure.
So,
I mean, I may complain about my job now, but nothing would compare to being Joe Biden's press secretary.
Lord, if that lady hasn't, gone off the deep end, gone off the reservation by the time her time is over in this position, I mean, more power to her. God bless her. But, and then, telling us that you're on track to complete our mission by August 31st. This is what irks me to no end. I know at risk of this, I'm trying to avoid this turning into a whole massive discussion because we've got a whole thing devoted to this later. But I have a problem with having this mission by August 31st. And this will come into play in the third clip that we've got from her press conference. But the Taliban should not be setting deadlines for us at all. We should be telling them absolutely where they need to stick it. And I know that's dangerous. Obviously, it's easy to sit in a chair, halfway across the world and say that. But you know what? The reality is that's what we've always done. That's what we need to continue to do. I mean, until we had Democrats in office, that's what we've always done. And that's what we need to continue to do. Like, this is ridiculous. The lack of a spine that this administration is showing, it's become very apparent. I mean, to the point you go on social media and people that voted for him in droves. I mean, there's a bunch of blind, moronic voters and stuff that are taking his side no matter what. But there are a lot of people on social media that were like, "Hey, Biden," the constant joke is like people saying, "Oh, I voted for Biden, but can Trump come back?" And that's an ongoing thing on social media right now. So
Not just that, people saying I'd rather mean tweets.
the whole big conversation was, "Oh, Trump is so mean. Trump is so awful. He hurts my feelings." And that's the big joke, is mean tweets 2024. Like, everybody wants the mean tweets back. We had lower gas prices, we had a better economy, and we had more jobs when we had mean tweets. So, I mean, you got to take the good with the bad, I guess, right?
Yeah. I mean, you got to make a decision. Mean tweets or, this. I mean,
Gambles,
yeah, I mean, just the debacles that here at home and abroad. I mean, I'd go for mean tweets any day compared to that. Trust me.
I mean, and listen, I've said it multiple times on our little show here that I don't agree with Trump having, unimpeded access on social media while he was the president, because sometimes he just said some stuff like, listen, most of the stuff that he said needed to be heard. I mean, I have no problem with the fact that the information was getting out there, but there were times where it was just like, bro, pump the brakes, stop. But I mean, it was what it was. It was transparent. We didn't get mixed messages. We knew what we were getting, versus now we've got some bonehead up there trying to, take his drivel and try to turn it into some kind of political statement, which he should be able to do on his own.
Yeah,
But,
exactly. I mean, it's just the way he's handling this. He's walked away from press members in the middle of important, serious questions from the little list of reporters he's allowed to speak to that give him softball questions. Even those people are like, "What's going on with this situation? What are you doing?"
When CNN is turning on you as a Democrat president, you have a problem. You have a problem. It's one thing if they're bombarding you and they're being rude and disrespectful and you basically tell them, "Piss off, I'm not answering your questions anymore." That's one thing. But no one was rude with him. No one was disrespectful. He thought he was going to walk into office and he could be a bum. He could be a schmuck who was driving the country into the ground. And his performance is absolute ass. It's just garbage. and he thought that they were still going to have his back and they were still going to lift him up and support him like a messiah. And they don't want him out. That first off, he don't want those questions. Second, the people in control behind the scenes don't want those questions. And I mean, it even said, I think at one point in one of the press conferences, he accidentally read that it said walk away from the podium, or somebody who had a cell phone camera had caught the teleprompter and it said walk away, or something to that effect. I would try to find it, but who knows at this point. They don't want those questions, man. They do not want those questions because he can't answer them. He can't string a coherent sentence together to save his life.
Even if he tries to answer them, like you said, he's just going to give some weird off the wall answer that doesn't make any sense and will confuse everybody. And then Jen Psaki has to get back out there and was like, oh, wait, this is actually what he meant.
This is what that meant. When he said, that's what he meant. But they go, there is no shortage of videos online just mocking him, just flat out mocking him, that he, like the Joe Biden best comments by Joe Biden. And they're all like, I mean, there are flat out comments where he goes on this tangent talking about something completely irrelevant to the question and then just stops in the middle and goes space cadet. And it's like, and then just moves on. Like, whoa, hold on. Where were we going and how did we get here? Like, so,
I mean, the only appeal I think for him was he wasn't Trump. I mean, no matter if he could string a coherent sentence together or would go off on some random tangent in the middle of what he was trying to say.
They were so desperate to get rid of what they were told was bad that they didn't stop to think that what you're getting is worse.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Who's replacing this person that we think is so evil? Well, you got him. He can't string a coherent sentence without having a teleprompter, and even then
he loses track of what's going on.
Exactly.
And in this clip that we just played, she tells us that they're set to achieve their objectives, but it's contingent on continued coordination with the Taliban. What happened to this country? And listen, I'm not like yay go to war or anything like that, but there was a time, and it was even not too long ago, like even Obama authorized going in and striking down the leader of the Taliban. Like, there was a time in the very recent future where we didn't mess around, and it got even worse, like when Trump was in office. Like, mess around and find out. Like, it's like the Taliban sat around and waited for Joe Biden, because they were not trying to play that game with Trump. And we'll get into it in the full Afghanistan debacle, and everybody's like, oh well, Trump's plan was to cooperate with the Taliban. No. And again, we'll go into it at length because I've got the whole document. But Trump's plan was the Taliban will abide by this, and this, and this, including a ceasefire. And if you don't, you got a problem. Like, it wasn't like, please, sir. It was mess around and find out. And there was a time where people messed with us or our allies, and we laid the smack down. Like, that's what happened. So this garbage of continued coordination with the Taliban, no. Do what we say, or we're going to make this a big bad problem for you.
Our priority needs to be getting Americans out of Afghanistan. That should be our number one priority at this point in time, is to get them out and get our Afghan allies out, because the Taliban is
no joke.
Definitely not going to be friendly to those who cooperated with us.
Yeah, and on top of it, we'll get into that later in these videos and stuff. But so this next one we've got, they flat out asked her, is Biden still thinking about this Buildback Better, or is Afghanistan a little more urgent? So we'll let you take a look at it.
And his remarks last night, he gave a lot of time to the domestic agenda. Does he think that the Build Back Better plan is as urgent and as time sensitive as this evacuation of Americans and Afghan friendlies from Kabul?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to the American people who care deeply about whether they're going to have jobs, whether they're going to have childcare, whether we are going to be able to compete with China and countries around the world, to understand that we have to do multiple things at the same time. That's exactly what any president of the United States has to do.
All right. So, I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, the flat out, I mean, they ask her if Build Back Better is still urgent or if Afghanistan's more important. And she does this little song and dance about, oh, well, President Biden, just like most presidents, has to multitask. I mean, how do you feel about this whole thing? Is Build Back Better more important at home or is Afghanistan more important?
No, Build Back Better can obviously still needs to go through Congress and then eventually to his desk or whoever's desk and presents it for him to sign, even though he probably doesn't know what he's signing. But Afghanistan, since we're on this arbitrary deadline that we didn't even set, that the Taliban set, we need to be working to get, like I said, all Americans out and all Afghan allies out.
Yeah,
I know that it
talk
takes time. I understand it takes time to vet people and, you know, do all this vetting and getting them on planes and flying them out and getting new planes in. I mean, that needs to be number one priority. The Build Back Better can sit on the back burner for right now while we deal with this immediate crisis that
they talk a big game, talk a big game. But push comes to shove, this right here, this is the scenario where we should be taking people in first, doing our due diligence, but taking them in, do the due diligence, and take in refugees. This is the time. All these liberals that have been screaming, oh well, Republicans don't care. They don't care about people. Like we're all immigrants. Blah blah blah. Now's the time. Put up or shut up. Like this is the time that we should be taking a stand. Like this isn't just opening our doors and just letting people in just cause. We are literally in a situation where we're going to have to go there and we're going to have to kick ass and take names and save people that are not necessarily American citizens that need rescuing because they've had our back. It's time to have their back.
Exactly.
And this Build Back Better, like, listen, nothing about Joe Biden's Build Back Better has sounded appropriate to me or like a good idea. Maybe, having not dug through all of his ideas, but most of them sound like garbage. But even that, put that aside, put the party lines aside. If you have a plan trying to improve this country, that's fantastic and that's good. And I'm willing to listen to it, but we need to take a pause for a minute because as bad as everybody has it here, that's worse now. It's like sometimes you do have to multitask, but sometimes you have a plan and it's just like cop work. Sometimes you walk in and you have a plan and you get sucker punched and the plan has to change. You have to adjust. You have to get your bearings straight. It's the old OODA loop. You have to get your bearings straight. You have to figure everything out and you have to now analyze and attack the problem with the new direction because you were not expecting it. And this is it. We were trying to fix the country that they broke, trying to get Trump out of office. And you get sucker punched by some stuff with the Taliban. You got to stop. You're like, if there was one American citizen over there, I don't care what needs to be done. They need to be brought back. Period. Flat out. End of discussion. And we should not be playing these games with them. We shouldn't.
Yeah, and one American citizen is too many. They shouldn't be abandoned by us. We shouldn't have British troops rescuing them. That just makes me mad.
The French stepped up.
Yeah, come on. All these smaller countries that are part of NATO, France, England, I think Australia. I know for Germany, come on, they're sending their special forces in to grab their citizens. Italy, to get their citizens. But what are we doing? We're holding a one runway airport and, not allowed to go out and hoping the Taliban will nicely let our citizens in.
Yeah. A runway that we're holding, might I add. The Taliban is blocking access to and from the place. And don't get me started on lists. We're going to get to that as the final wrap up for it on part 3. But yeah, we are doing nothing. Like we are doing nothing. If you're not doing enough, you're essentially doing nothing. And we're literally sitting on our hands. You have people, it is so bad. You have people blindly handing infants over a railing to American troops just to get their kid the hell out of there. That's
over razor wire.
Over razor wire.
Yeah, over razor wire.
That's a
They
problem.
want their kids to be safe and rather be with the Americans than the Taliban. Again, that should probably tell you something.
They would rather be away from their infant and trust it in the hands of American soldiers than stay with their kid. That's how bad it is. And we're literally sitting on our hands. We're sitting on our hands doing nothing. We are doing a tenth of what needs to be done. And I am not a military expert. I am not a military veteran. I don't sit in these war rooms and so on and so forth. But the problem is you don't have to be a military veteran to know what's right, what's wrong, and what we should and shouldn't be doing. And we should be in there. We should be in there. And I know I'm not sticking my neck on the line going in there, but oh, well, it's not your kid. It's not you going over. Shut up. Shut up. Because I can tell you right now, I can go on my Instagram, my Facebook, and in my phone book of people in my phone. And I guarantee you, any veteran, any active military that I've called, any veteran that's retired, if I called them right now, they'd be like, hell yeah, let's go. Like, you tell, oh, well, they're missing their families. Yeah, so I understand that. But instead of, you've had these guys sitting in these barracks, like twiddling their thumbs on not everywhere, but a lot of places that signed up. And I talk to them. I see their posts on social media complaining about how bored they are kicking back in some of these nonsensical places. Like, they're looking to enjoy their military time as well and get into the shit sometimes. And they'd sign up in a heartbeat. They'd be the first one to raise their hands and go. So don't play with me like, oh, you're sending people, send this. There are, like, I'm not going to speak for all of them, but there are plenty of people that are like, I'll go in and I'll do the dirty work and I'll get our boys out. Hell yeah. Like, so.
Yeah, it's just very disappointing how we have the strongest military in the world. And now we're retreating, not doing anything, not even getting our citizens out. We're relying on other allied nations to get our citizens out, but we're also relying on the Taliban's kindness to let our citizens in so we can evacuate.
Wait, let's go back and let's hit that again. We are relying on the Taliban's kindness.
Yeah.
And I know the way you said that, how stupid that is. Like, and that's why you worded it that way. But for everybody listening, like, we are relying on the kindness of a group of terrorists that are mowing down people senselessly and murdering people just because they don't go along with the regime that they're trying to establish. And if you're not talking about soldiers versus soldiers, you're talking about video clips of women and children being murdered. Like, we're relying on their kindness. Like, are you serious right now? Like,
and not to get into it too much, but these are Islamic extremists who are denying women. I don't see leftists, denying women the right to work, to get an education. They're putting them back in traditional Islamic wear,
headdresses and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. They're going house to house collecting weapons. They are, trying to find Christians. And, they've gone through phones looking for Bible apps, any crosses in houses.
Social medias and stuff. Yep.
And it's just, and we've been there for 20 years. So the entire generation has been grown up in that kind of world where they can go to school and they can, get a job and have more rights. But now they're all reverting back to how it was before we came in.
It's getting ridiculous,
It is ridiculous. It's frustrating, and it frankly makes me mad.
And it honestly, above all else, like, it's the cowardly behavior. Honestly, like, it's one thing to try to make good decisions and make sure you've got the best plan going in, but it's another thing to just be handed a situation where you've got no option other than to act and to just sit back and do nothing. I mean, if you and I went into a situation where we were at work and we were forced to act and we chose not to, like they're doing now, we would be fired and possibly civilly or criminally liable for whatever happened because we chose not to act. And that's a problem. And this is not our military. It's not a knock on our military. It's not
No.
them. It's the people up top pulling the strings, making indecisiveness, complacency and indecisiveness and cowardice is really what it boils down to. So, and then we have clip number 3 here, and this is my favorite part of the whole thing. We'll just let you watch it because this is a good one.
The United States has to do.
And the next one, just as these negotiations about safe passage for Americans and SIV holders continue, why haven't we heard the president say the United States does not negotiate with terrorists? Is that still the U.S. policy?
Well, of course it is, Peter, but I would also say that there's a reality that the Taliban is currently controlling large swaths of Afghanistan. That is a reality on the ground. And right now our focus and our priority is getting American citizens evacuated and our Afghan partners evacuated. And I would say, given the numbers that we've outlined and briefed for you, that we've made a great deal of progress in doing exactly that.
Oh my God.
That's my favorite part. So, as you saw, she was flat out asked, historically the U.S. doesn't negotiate with terrorists, and is this still a U.S. policy? I would like it to be. I think it should be. In my heart of hearts, I hope it still is. But we're clearly negotiating.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Obviously, they're saying, "Oh yeah, we're in constant talks with them every day." And why?
And people, again, to go back to the whole Trump deal, people, oh well, Trump. Well, no, Trump was not negotiating. Trump was giving them a list of demands, and you will follow these, and you will do this, and if you don't agree, then we're going to spank you behind. This is night and day. And I challenge anybody to disagree with me on that, because I've got the documents. I've got the documents from the Department of Homeland Security that are public record, that were online, able to be downloaded PDF style. The list, bullet note by bullet note, everything that the Taliban was not asked was required to comply with. And as long as they did not violate this, and this, we wouldn't. Listen, you do what you do, you will be a decent, respectable people, and you will have a good form of government where everybody's respected and and ceasefire. And you violate any one of those terms, we're gonna show you that we're your daddy. And that's not a negotiation. That's not a negotiation. A negotiation is going, oh, can we at least have until October 31st to get our people out? Oh yeah. Oh, you'll allow that? Okay. Well, if we give you a list of all of the names of American citizens and our supporters and allies, will you allow them access to the runway so they can fly away and be safe? That is the whole thing. Like, I know I've said it a couple times already, but that, as we keep going, I keep getting fired up. That thing irritates the hell out of me. Like that infuriates me, because you at this point, at this stage, you are either insanely incompetent, you're an idiot, you are a flat out negative IQ, you are a moron, you are flat out the biggest idiot that has ever graced the presidency, or you're doing this shit on purpose. You're either a complete moron or you're a treasonous fool who needs to be jailed and court-martialed and all that other crap. I mean, there's no two ways about it. There's like, you can't tell me that this was a good idea. You literally just handed a list of all of our people that are still stranded over there and all of these sympathizers and the allies. You just told everyone that they are going around looking through people's phones, finding Christian apps and all that other crap, and they're murdering them on the spot. They are putting them to death. And you just handed them a list of every single Afghan person that sympathizes and cooperates with the United States. Are you stupid?
Yeah.
You just gave them a hit list. Are you serious right now?
Yeah, and then we're telling them, go to the airport. It's all right. The Taliban will let you through.
And they don't even have to do any work. They just have to sit around and wait.
Yeah.
The U.S. government
You know why the Taliban is guarding, right? Because of ISIS.
You literally just sent the lambs to the slaughter. You literally went, oh yeah, the Taliban's going to let you through. They're going to let you on the plane so we can bring you back here. Oh, come on.
It's all right. Nothing bad's going to happen to you for cooperating with the United States for the last 20 years.
So
It's all right.
the U.S. doesn't negotiate with terrorists. Is this still a U.S. policy? And the response is essentially, yes, it is, but there should never be a but at the end of that sentence. I mean, that statement. Never, 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 never. Yes, it is, or no, it isn't. That's it. Yes, it is, but. So when someone does stuff like that, and they say stuff like, yes, it is, but, or, not that I'm aware of, or, are there drugs in the car? Well, not that I know of. I mean, I think, but I did have my friend in there the other day and he does cocaine sometimes. Like when someone gives you the answer that you're looking for, but then says, but, they're getting ready to tell you how they're completely violating the first half of what they just said. Yeah. They're literally getting ready to tell you the excuse that they're using as to why the first part does not apply anymore. So yes, it is, but the reality is Taliban controls large swaths in Afghanistan. So, okay. Germany controlled a huge portion of Europe and we went in and spanked them. Like,
yeah, so they were technologically superior.
Vastly. That's the sad part. Well, not anymore. Not now that they have all of our, other than they have our armored vehicles and our drones and our rifles and stuff like that. But whatever. What do we know?
And our helicopters and it's all right. We just handed terrorists a whole bunch of personal equipment and night vision goggles and plate carriers and guns and ammo. It's all right.
And the
fact friendly, even though they chant death to America, it was in a friendly way.
Yeah, death to America. Oh yeah, it's fine though. We're still friends. It's still good.
Yeah.
So the fact that there's so many people on social media, when you go in there and you still see, you go to these comment sections, and I shouldn't read comment sections because it bothers the hell out of me. It angered, like legitimately, like it makes my blood boil sometimes, because sometimes there are people that are just trolling and it's obvious, and sometimes there are people that are just dumb. And it's one thing, like, and I've done it on here a couple times. I don't agree with Trump on everything, and I've had debates in comment sections with people, and I've told you, I've told them I disagree with Trump on this, this, and this, and this, relevant to the argument we're having, but this is where I agree with him. To just blindly go in there and be like, oh, Joe Biden's doing a great job. No, stop. Like, how can, literally, we've been talking for like almost 31 minutes now, and we've just rattled off like at least 10 things, 15 things that he screwed up in this one thing alone. So are you going to tell me that he's doing a good job? Stop it. Now you're just being stupid.
When we haven't even gone in depth yet. I mean, just these 3 little clips in the article. I mean,
surface level.
31 minutes. I mean, we may even have to, when we do the whole analysis, it may be 1 or 2 episodes on. But we shouldn't guarantee or have the Taliban try and guarantee safety of Americans and other Afghans that have helped us. And
I agree, and the problem is it's not even that what they're doing is stupid, because it frustrates me because on the surface it looks like they're stupid, but then as you dig more and you get a little more in depth into it, it's almost like they don't care, or they're doing it on purpose, because they go back and they try to lie to cover, like, blatant lies. Like Jen Psaki goes in there, and at first she's like, no, there are zero American citizens that are trapped in Afghanistan right now. I'm like, well, that's not true. Nope. There are 0.
Yeah.
And then the report comes out that there's over 4,000 people trapped in just one section alone. And all the stuff comes out about the allies and the chicken wire and all. And then all of a sudden, well, maybe there may be some. We're still gathering that information. Like, how does the media have that information and the commander-in-chief does not have that information? How?
And who even knows the real numbers of how many people are trapped in Afghanistan? Not even just Kabul, but the rest of Afghanistan.
So they go out there and they tell us, oh, there's no one trapped. Then the news reports come out and they're like, oh, maybe there are some people trapped. We're still evaluating it. To now it's, okay, there are people trapped there. To now it's, our priority is getting American citizens evacuated. So which is it?
But we're now sending them statements saying, you should probably not come to that airport. Your only way out of Afghanistan at this point in time probably shouldn't go there.
There are so many instances where they are caught in press conferences telling us things like that are flat out debunkable. Like, it's not even like an opinion thing. Like, literally, stats and like facts and statistics. You can literally, there are news articles, there are people on the ground, there like all kinds of stuff. Like, there's information available that debunks what they're saying, and they're like, no, I swear it's true. Like, these people, they get caught lying, twisting stories, trying to lie and cover their tracks. Like, honestly, I mean, I know Joe Biden's stupid, but the people pulling the strings and stuff, I just don't trust them. I think strongly that there are people that are making decisions that somewhere, if you weave through the nonsense, it probably benefits them somewhere, monetarily or whatever. Like, there's discussions and exchanges of powers or money or whatever the case may be behind the scenes that we don't see. And Joe Biden's just a pawn. Joe Biden's the pawn that's, and I empathize with him a little bit because he really is basically a Manchurian candidate. Like, and he's not necessarily like a brainwashed zombie. He's just an idiot that's easy to kind of navigate through the waters. But
as long as he can stay the course.
There's a lot of shady stuff going on. And the fact that we bombarded Trump for so long and we're going to let Joe Biden have a pass because you agree with his politics, like blatantly getting called out. CNN is calling him out on this nonsense. When CNN and all the liberal media are turning on him, this is a problem. And this is what we all warned you was going to happen. And no one wanted to listen. And we're not, I'm far from a genius. I'm far from the smartest guy politically or militarily or whatever. But we warned you. We warned you this was going to happen, and you decided that what you said is what needs to happen. Like you like, oh no, communism, socialism has just never been done right. Oh, Joe Biden, yeah, I know you disagree with the things that Obama did, but this is going to be different. Like, it's frustrating. It's irritating. It really is.
I mean, one more thing about Afghanistan before we move on.
Yeah,
it's something to say when the Chinese are trying to come in as well, and now be partners with the Afghans or with the Taliban. Sorry, with Taliban.
But that's information for our extended edition, our director's cut.
Yes, director's cut. But anyways,
so we will move on to an article that first popped up in my little timeline today, probably only a few hours ago. San Francisco cops and firefighters are facing suspension for not disclosing their vaccination status. So just to give everybody a little bit of background, nearly 20 police, fire, and sheriff's employees in San Francisco are facing 10-day unpaid suspensions for refusing to disclose their COVID-19 vaccination status by the city's August 12th deadline. The employees include 8 in the police department, 7 in the fire department, and 2 in the sheriff's department. They're going to get disciplinary action and so on and so forth. But, they go on to say the health and well-being of the city employees and public we serve are top priority during our emergency response to COVID-19. And they've decided that, I think it said, most employees will have 10 weeks to obtain their shots after the FDA granted final approval to at least one of the vaccines. But some who work in high-risk settings will be required to be inoculated even sooner. Almost all of the city's 36,000 workers reported their status by the deadline, and about 90% of them were already vaccinated. Department of Human Resources Policy Chief Mawuli, I'm not even going to pronounce that name, stated to the press. So my question is, how do you feel about that?
Like we've discussed, this is a HIPAA issue, honestly. And I think any type of working environment where you have to disclose something about your health is a HIPAA violation. With my previous job, obviously, this is working with HIPAA and stuff like that. And this is clearly a HIPAA violation. And, you know, they shouldn't have to disclose. I mean, I know we're lucky and our department doesn't require it,
For now.
but they're at least disclosing it. But still, that's a HIPAA issue all day long. I mean, few people get together and sue. And, I mean,
So
that's my take.
there have been between the internet and between talking our union at our job, talking to constitutional lawyers and stuff, it sounds like as of right now, the way the laws and the rules stand is employers can force you to get vaccinated, and they can terminate you if you don't, or suspend you, or with pay or without pay, or whatever the case may be. Now, regarding this disclosure to the media that 90% of their workers were vaccinated, that's walking a thin line, a slippery slope. I mean, I don't know how you can release that information. I mean, granted, they didn't use any specific names, but if you say that 90% of them were already vaccinated, that's most of the department. 90% is a big chunk, so that's still releasing information about a group of people. That's got to be a violation somewhere. Now, and I've talked to people at great length about this. Should we refuse to get the vaccine even if our job's on the line, and And I tell people, I'm not going to make that decision for you. I would support whatever decision you made. If you decided that you wanted to get the vaccine to keep your job, rock on, do what you do. That's the decision that's right for you, and I would never tell you that that's wrong for you. On the flip side, if you decided to fight the power and refuse to get the jab, I would fully support that as well. I think that it is unconstitutional, regardless of what these constitutional lawyers tell you. I think it's unconstitutional to force somebody to put something into their body that they don't trust and that they don't know what's in there. They've rushed this vaccine through. They've not had proper testing and gone through all the ropes. They did the emergency approval. They've rushed it through to now FDA approval, and they want to call it a pandemic, and it's for the well-being of the people around you, and da da da. Listen, first and foremost, vaccinated people are getting it. They're spreading it. They're still dying from it. Maybe the numbers aren't as huge, but it's still happening. So if the likelihood of you getting it and dying, like, I totally understand why somebody wouldn't want to get it. And to sit there and put something in your body and forcibly, like, it's 1984. You're talking about Nazi Germany. You're talking about Soviet Russia. Holding people down and forcing them at the threat of not being able to get food for their families, not being able to have employment, not being able to go out in public, being hermits and locked in their homes, threat of retaliation and stuff like that's some seriously serious dictatorship right there. And I'm sorry, there's no information to show. There's no information to show that vaccinated, matter of fact, CDC is warning you vaccinated people can still spread it. People can still spread. So if the only one I'm protecting with the vaccine is myself, then leave me alone. Leave me alone. And to sit here and force people to get the jab, and I got off on a little bit of tangent, but the reality is, I tell people, everything's a law until it's not. Every race-related law that criminalized, black people just for being black, that was legal until it wasn't, until somebody stood up and fought it. Everything keeping rights away from women was a law until somebody stood up and said no, and it's not anymore. So I'm not calling to action. I'm not telling people to go quit their jobs and stuff like that, but I fully support you if you decide that that's what you need to do. Constitutional lawyers today tell you that they can fire you for that, but a smart enough attorney and a smart enough person, with enough information that handles it the right way, could make a valid argument that you're forcing me. And, these people, it's FDA approved right now. First off, what in the hell makes these these vaxxers think that first off, I am not against vaccinations. I'm against this vaccination, me personally. I'm against this vaccination, not vaccinations. I have all my other vaccinations. The problem is, what makes you think that the FDA approval was the only thing that was holding me back? But the FDA approval doesn't mean shit to me. It means nothing to me. Without going into too much detail and without using specific names or companies or anything like that, my family was personally affected by something that the FDA swore was the safe new thing. It was the new thing. My wife had one of those IUDs for birth control put into her body, and it was the latest and greatest thing. It was the big thing that everybody was talking about. This is going to be the future. And well, guess what? The device ended up breaking inside of her body, and it caused numerous health conditions, which directly led to some of the issues that caused the decisions that had me leave my first agency. And because I couldn't explain it to them and they couldn't understand. So, it was one of those things where, they put in the device, everything was going okay. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. And she ended up having to have a partial hysterectomy. She went through numerous surgeries. And honestly, I think there's a ton of medical problems that she's still suffering from that are a direct relation to that. And we're never going to be able to prove that, to the point where we started Googling it and researching it. And, there's like 9,000 people were involved in a class action lawsuit that we got in on. And this is an FDA approved device that they swore was going to be fine, and it almost killed my significant other. Literally almost killed her. Your FDA approval doesn't mean anything to me. It is not worth the paper that it's written on. Like, I will wipe my behind with that FDA approval. Like, it is garbage. It means nothing to me, because until you've gone through the testing and until you've proven that this thing is safe, I don't care. I don't care. So the fact that you're going to sit here and tell these people you have to take the jab or you're fired, I think that is the biggest load of garbage. That is a crock of horse crap, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You're using fear to force people into something that they're not comfortable with and that they don't feel is safe for them. That is a problem. That is a dictator move, and you're a piece of garbage if you try to force somebody. And listen, if you want to willingly do it, rock on, do what you do. If you want to force people to take that jab, you are a piece of trash. I don't care who mandates it. You are a piece of trash, flat out. And I will tell you that to your face. I don't care who it is. Suggesting people take it, urging people to take it, giving them incentive to take it, fine. If you want to give a raise, if you want to give raises next year, and if you're vaccinated, you get 4%, but if you're unvaccinated, you get 3%, fine. Give incentives for people to do these things. But to tell people you're not going to be able to eat, you're not going to be able to feed your family, and it's only a matter of time. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for, child services to come around and go, well, you're endangering your child by not getting the vaccine. We're going to take your children away. Like, and that may be extreme, and that may be an extreme circumstance, but look at some of the nonsense they're getting into. Like, there are, like, I know everybody sees the beard, because I've been fortunate enough. Our job is fantastic, and they've started giving people the ability to do like call center report taking from home if you're exposed or whatever. I had several people in my household test positive, and I have thankfully not tested positive, but basically I had symptoms, and they told me you have it even though you're tested negative. You got it. Sorry. So sad, too bad, you got to quarantine. And thankfully we're in that good situation, but you look at all these people. I've had one person in my life, the number of people that have at our agency that have been hit with COVID, and there have been a handful of them that have been on, breathing machines in the hospital and on death's doorstep. But everybody that I know personally in my life that has contracted it has been totally fine. So there's no rhyme or reason. My in-laws, and I know I'm going on a tangent, not giving you much time to speak, but my in-laws, my father-in-law got the COVID vaccination, or he at least got the first round of it. And my mother-in-law did not. They both got super sick. Well, he got super sick, like death's doorstep. Like, I mean, and he usually takes sickness pretty hard anyway. He's usually like out for the count on everything, but he is like immobilized, and he had the first half of the vaccine, and she has refused to get it. I mean, she's thinking about it now, but I don't know why based off of all this, but she's refused to get it, and she didn't even know she had it. She had no symptoms other than maybe like a stuffy nose and like a little bit of congestion. She didn't even know she had it, thought it was allergies, went to the doctor, and they're like, let's go ahead and test you anyway. And she tested positive. Meanwhile, he's down and out over there, half dead, like 1 foot in the grave with the vaccine. So there's no rhyme or reason. Like, I understand that there's data and there's statistics, and absolutely you should rely on data and statistic. You should take every bit of information that you possibly have to make the best decision for you. But you can hand me all these data and statistics, but I'm going to base my decisions off of everything, including what I see in front of me. And me personally, I have seen things that contradict what you're telling me. Like, you're telling me I need to do this for the well-being of others, but the information in front of me, the data that I'm seeing with my own eyes, you've got over here, you've got a vaccinated person that's worse off than the unvaccinated person. I've got like 4 or 5 people that we know of, that we know personally, that have been on death's doorstep. But all the people in my personal life, and I'm out of shape. I'm supposed to be susceptible. I'm out of shape, overweight. I'm supposed to be susceptible, and had like 2 days of a sore throat. So I think there's too many variables, and there's too much nonsense to be forcing people to do this. I think this is a sham, just like you. Like, as far as I think it's a HIPAA violation the way they handle this, and I think it's a sham to be forcing people to get the jab. And I think you are a dictator and you're a piece of crap. And I take that to the bank, and I don't care who decides that, who changes their mind and decides people need to get vaccinated. I think you're a gigantic piece of trash if you try to mandate people for something that has a 98% survival rate. I think that's absolute garbage. 98, 99%. I think it's garbage, and I think you are a terrible person if you try to force people to take a jab that they're not comfortable with. I think it is absolute nonsense.
Yeah, and I mean, you're requiring people to do something, to go to work, to participate in normal life, like going to the movies, going out to restaurants. And I mean, you got California that had, all of a sudden they're in favor of IDs to make sure no fraud occurs. They're going to require, you to show your vaccination card and a valid ID. No, sorry, it wasn't. It was New York that's doing that. If you want to go eat, you have to show your ID, a valid ID, and you have to go show your vaccination card. And I mean, so now all of a sudden, blue states are concerned about fraud. Only when it comes to the COVID vaccination, though. But everything else is racist. I mean, do we really need something to participate in life?
Well,
you can't work without having this. You can't, go spend time with your family, even though your entire family is vaccinated. Like I said, like you said, we're not against people getting vaccinated. I'm not against people getting vaccinated. It's just
the coercion.
I know the risks of if I get COVID, what they are, and if I choose to take on those risks, that's my personal business. I mean, trust me, I'm 100% for vaccines. It's just this one was rushed, and there's no long-term studies. I mean,
talk to me in 2 years when you've got 3 years when you've gone through all the tests and the clinical trials and stuff. Talk to me then.
Yeah. I mean,
we'll
just because something got FDA approved, like you said, it doesn't mean it's flawless, perfect, and never gonna ever cause any issues. I don't know. We don't know yet. I mean, there's not enough data. It's only been out for a year. And, everyone's like, well, yeah, it's experimental. It got rushed through, but, we're going to die of COVID. So we need to get it.
Yeah, you can get it or you're going to die.
I mean, people who are at higher risk, I believe they should be the first ones getting it. when the vaccines first came out, it was like elderly people need to get it, and people who are at substantial risk need to get it, because maybe my risk as a 24-year-old is going to be different from an 85-year-old with a whole bunch of health conditions.
Well, and don't get it
The
twisted.
risk management is completely different.
Just because I'm against getting the vaccine now doesn't mean I'm going to be against getting the vaccine in 3 years, when we've seen the clinical trials and we know what's happening and we know what's going on with it. But this bullshit right now of forcing it down people's throats, I got a problem. My biggest problem is how quickly as a country we went from Trump as a dictator, Trump as a problem, Trump is Hitler, to how quickly we went to, oh, you need to see your papers before you can go out into public. Like that was a pretty sharp drop, very quickly. So that's my biggest problem. I am all for getting, like I said, I have all my vaccinations, all the tuberculosis and all the other BS. I have all my vaccinations. I have no problem with you getting a vaccination. And honestly, as long as I see clinical trials that tell me that it went well, let me see what the numbers are. Let me see why it's useful, why it's helpful. I have no problem with it. But just coming at me sideways and going, you need to get it. Think of the other people. Think of the people you're saving. Yeah. Nope. You guys flat out told me that I am the only person I'm saving is me by getting the vaccine, because you can say it's to keep me from spreading it, but you're also telling vaccinated people they could still spread it and they need to mask up and they need to social distance and they should shut up. Just shut up.
No, I'm sick and tired of mask mandates, honestly. We've been doing this for almost 2 years now. I'm just over it, honestly, these masks. But like we've said, and like many other people said, it's really hard. The N95s, I believe, are like 50% effective when it comes to the preventing spread. 50. That's a coin flip whether it gets through or not. And these cloth masks are like 10%, if that. It's just insane.
Careful, you're going to get fact checked on your numbers.
I know, but it's annoying. We're requiring all these things, and now we're requiring, you need to show your ID and your vaccination card to make sure no fraud's being committed. But we can't do that for elections. That drastically can change our policies and how we handle issues in the future.
I'm with you. So again, just to summarize for everybody, we're not against you getting it. We're not against, however you want to handle it, but forcing people, that's absolute garbage. And again, you're a trash person. If you try to mandate somebody having to get it, you're a terrible person. So I think that's about as far as we're going to get on that. So without going on another tangent for another 45 minutes.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go ahead and jump on to our last topic. What was it? Like Monday, the trailer dropped for Spider-Man, was it?
Sometime earlier this week. It had to have been Monday or Tuesday, probably.
Yeah. So.
Well, we've had discussions at great length, as you can see. My screen's mirrored. Sorry, Batman back here, big, and then you got my Justice League thing barely visible back here. Big
Captain America chair.
Captain America chair. I can't get out of the way. Anyway, so I'm not the biggest comic book nerd. I don't know everything about comics, but I got a little bit of background, and if I see something that interests me and I don't know about it, I look it up just like everything else. And growing up, I was big on Batman, X-Men, and Spider-Man. Huge on Spider-Man. I liked the first three, the original trilogy. They had their flaws, but they were really good. The second two, I'm maybe in a minority for the Amazing Spider-Man. I thought those were pretty good. They had obviously a lot of flaws too, but I think they had a lot of pros too. But man, these Tom Holland movies, I really, really like them. I really like them.
I'll have to watch them because I haven't seen any of the Spider-Man movies.
For shame.
Not the most recent ones. I've seen the one with Tobey Maguire, all three of those, but
Nobody's really streaming them right now, but you can get them on like Amazon Prime. My kid and I just, the one that's been catching up on all the MCU movies, we just watched Far From Home a day or two ago, and it was like $3.99 to rent for 2 days on Amazon. Super.
yeah, I'll definitely have to catch up before this movie because I really like Doctor Strange on how the MCU is interpreted him, but so I definitely have to get up to date on everything.
Yeah, I was not a big. Not even that I wasn't a big fan. I just didn't know anything about Doctor Strange really until I heard they were making the movie. So I started doing research and reading into it and looking into it and stuff. And I really liked the Doctor Strange movie. Obviously, this is setting up the whole, like, along with the Loki show and all that. It's kind of setting up the whole idea of the multiverse and everything. And this kind of really is the first big splash into the multiverse that we've had in any of the movies. And man, that trailer was awesome. It's so much nostalgia for me. And I mean, I know I'm like 10 years older than you or whatever, but and I don't know how old you were in 2000 or whatever when the first Spider-Man came out. Like 9.
In 2000.
Yeah.
I was like 3.
3. Oh God. Dude, in 2000 I was 15. And I know some people are probably listening going, "Oh my God, you're so young." But I feel old when I talk to people like you, but man, the nostalgia of that, like just seeing, if you haven't watched the trailer, watch it because it's ridiculous. But just seeing the pumpkin bomb pop in, and like it was very specific to the Willem Dafoe Green Goblin, which was I don't think anybody else could have played that thing like he did. He plays a psychopath so great, so great. He has that crazy eye stare, and obviously like everybody I know that all the reaction videos and stuff you see when Dr. Octopus popped up, like, oh, Alfred Molina was awesome, and there's little tidbits in there about Electro and the Lizard probably being in there, and they're trying their best to keep the tight lid on it and stuff like that about Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire returning, but it's been all over the internet. It's been leaked forever, and they can try to keep it quiet all they want, but I am so stoked to see all 3 Spider-Men together. That's going to be awesome.
And like I said, I've really only seen the 3 with Tobey Maguire. I haven't seen the new ones so.
Oh, it's the only problem that I have with the new Spider-Man movies is I'm tired of seeing the young Peter like origin story, kind of like with Batman. Like I like the last hand, like Batman Begins really took a new twist on it. And like it got past my mommy and daddy died and got straight into like the learning, but like the Uncle Ben dying, like I'm so tired of seeing the young Spider-Man. Like it would be nice to jump into a movie like that when they reboot this 10 years down the line or whatever. It'd be nice to see them jump into a movie where he's already an adult, he's already an experienced Spider-Man. Like even if you have that little blip at the beginning, kind of like they did in the Michael Keaton Batman, where it was like you showed him really young and then all of a sudden now he's an experienced Batman. You know what I'm saying? So like I would like to see something like that where we jump right in and he's already 5 years already been Spider-Man. He's not a little kid anymore. He's already out in the adult world, dating and getting engaged to Mary Jane or whatever. And so, but Tom Holland, I think, has done a really good job. There's a lot more drama. I see a lot more drama and struggle in that kid. The terror in his eyes when he first realizes the secret identity of the Vulture in the first movie, and then in the, in the second one we just watched it, and just the heartbreak when he keeps disappointing the girl that he likes and stuff like that. The second one was so good. Mysterio, what's his name? Jake Gyllenhaal played Mysterio. Great. So how did you like the trailer? I think you said you watched it, right?
Yeah, I watched it. I liked it, but probably not. I couldn't appreciate it more than you have because, like I said, I haven't seen the first 2 movies yet. But just seeing all these iconic villains come back was very nice, and knowing that Tobey Maguire is also going to be in it. So
that's what did it for me, was all the nostalgia.
Yeah, and I mean that's obviously the first live action Spider-Man movie I've ever seen. So of course, that's going to bring back some nostalgia. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I was like, I don't rarely go to the movies, but I think this is an exception I'll make.
Just so long as they don't bring back that garbage Topher Grace Venom from Spider-Man 3, because that was the Venom is one of my favorite villain slash like anti-heroes in comics. Like I love Venom, and they just did him so dirty in that movie. Like they were so desperate to get Venom in a movie that they just did him so they rushed the character. They got the wrong actor to play him. Like Tom Hardy's Venom, while they mess up the origin story and stuff, Tom Hardy's Venom is ridiculous. I loved it. And Carnage, the Venom 2, the Carnage movie coming out. I swear to God, I hope that they find a way to squeeze Tom Holland Spider-Man in there, because I mean, that in historically in the comics, like Carnage is usually so powerful that neither Venom or Spider-Man can beat him alone, so they usually end up teaming up. So I'm kind of stoked, and I hope he finds his way into the movie a little bit, but we'll see. So if you haven't seen the No Way Home trailer, anybody watching, go watch it, because it was ridiculous and totally worth every. I mean, it's a short little teaser. It's only like 2.5 minutes, but it's awesome. And if you grew up watching those other movies, then the nostalgia is going to hit you, and it's going to hit you hard because it looks awesome.
Yeah, even if you didn't watch the new ones and just watch the 3 with Tobey Maguire, that's still pretty good.
And if you watch the trailer and you don't want to, it doesn't make you want to go back and watch Homecoming and Far From Home, then shame on you. You probably don't deserve to be watching Spider-Man anyway, and go home. So yeah. I loved it, and I can't wait to see it. That's like, again, I don't even before COVID, I didn't go to the movie theaters very often because it's ridiculously expensive. It's stupid. But I went and saw Batman vs Superman. I went and saw Justice League, and like the big movies, like marquee movies for me, like that. This would be one that I would probably consider going to the theaters to watch.
Yeah, that one I definitely would. I think I saw Batman vs Superman with my friend who really likes Superman, and I'm really like Batman, so I thought that was worth going to, and pretty much any of the Star Wars movies. Because
Infinity War and Endgame, I saw those in theaters as well.
Never watched those in theaters,
dude. I wish I could go back and experience that again for the first time, because in the movie theater in Endgame, after the snap, like the air got sucked out of the theater, like it just got sucked out. And in Endgame, when they said on your left and everybody started popping up to come have Caps back, bro, like the theater went ballistic. It was worse than people clapping on a plane when it lands successfully. Like they went bonkers. And just when after Tony did the snap and everything, like just again, the air got sucked out of the room, and it was like there was such a roller coaster. And like you can't, being surrounded by so many people that are into it like you are, like you can't not experience it like that. You have to experience something like that in theaters. It's so good. And going through with my kid and watching them again, it was good. Like obviously introducing them to it, but it's just not the same as that atmosphere of the theaters. So
yeah, the problem with me is if I get into a new franchise, I'll usually jump in somewhere in the middle, and then I'll have to go back. Like with Marvel, I may have watched actually none of them in theaters. Maybe some of the Iron Man movies once they came out, but as soon as I watched Infinity War and Endgame, I was like, I don't know any of these characters, and they all seem interesting, so I'm gonna go back.
See. You had the fatal error. You didn't go it took us a while, but we went back and watched all those movies. And my kid admitted, he was like, man, that was so much better knowing, like investing in the characters and stuff. I'm like, I told you, my guy, I told you.
Yeah. Like I was there and I was like, don't know who any of these, I can obviously recognize Thor and Iron Man and Captain America. And I was like, I'm completely clueless on, everybody else. But
and going back, and a lot of those movies came out in like 2008. 2008 was a while ago. I was 2008, I was in my early 20s,
I was
so
in middle school.
I was in my early 20s. So obviously, even though I was an adult, and I've always been on the same kind of trajectory, but in the scheme of things, I see things differently now than I did then. And going back and watching those movies again, I always thought Thor 1 and 2 were some of the worst movies in the MCU. But I going back and watching them again and being older and having a different view on life and stuff like that. I honestly, I liked. I don't think there was one movie in there that I really didn't care for. Like some of the earlier ones, the ones that I thought I didn't like, I ended up liking. And I thought Captain America 1 and 2 were okay before, but this time going back and watching them and stuff, and having gotten much more political since then, and gotten more yay pro America since then, and all that other stuff. There's a different appreciation for like the Captain America movies, I think, going back in retrospect and watching them again. So it's a good journey. You should definitely embark on that, and it'll really strengthen everything, because obviously, Spider-Man, the Spider-Man movies in general, kind of all focus around, like, the focal point is Iron Man and his relationship with Spider-Man. So there's a lot of tie-in there. So you can definitely appreciate the Spider-Man movies more. So
Well, like I said, I've jumped in the middle and had to go back, and there's still some I haven't even seen, like Thor 1 and 2 I haven't even seen. I think the most recent one I watched was Ragnarok.
yeah, I loved Ragnarok. I think Thor's story arc was really good.
Yeah, see, I haven't even experienced all of it yet. Still, and then, they're producing, What If and
Right.
other stuff now, and still trying to stay current while going back.
Well, and you watched Loki or no?
I am on the last episode.
So Loki was, I think you'll have a different appreciation for Loki when you watch the Thor movies and see the arc that they went through and all that stuff. And Loki's kind of redemption from like sniveling little weasel to, respectable, not really hero, but respectable person. So it's pretty good. So, but on that note,
The only ultimate movie would be Spider-Man and Deadpool. That's what I just want.
well, there's a lot of rumors that they're talking about that now. So, I mean, you have to have the two. So,
yeah.
But on that note,
Yeah.
we are going to go way over if we don't find somewhere to pull the plug. So, as usual, like we're somewhat back on track now. So as usual, we appreciate everybody that's kind of stuck with us and keep grinding along at it, even with the ups and downs we've had lately with everything going on. So we appreciate that, and we're gonna keep grinding at it regardless of all the stuff we got going on at home and at work and stuff like that. So keep hitting us up and keep giving us ideas and so on and so forth, and we'll keep trying to plug away at it.
And like we said, just a little promotion for ourselves, full analysis of this whole thing as far as Afghanistan. As the date of we're recording this, it's August 27th. We got this arbitrary 31st deadline, which we're going to do hopefully that video after, because I know as soon as I wake up from sleeping all day, there's brand new news of what's going on. So it's ever evolving, and I definitely want to see what's going to happen on that 31st deadline.
So just do the usual, like, subscribe, notification bell, make sure you hit everything, hit all, like, so you don't miss anything. I mean, Brian put together this nifty little placard at the end of the videos we've been using for the last couple. So got all the links to some of the most recent videos and stuff. So make sure you check all that stuff out if you haven't. I just found one of our followers yesterday, that I was like, man, you watched the new episode yet? He's like, oh crap, I didn't. And he went out and watched it today. So I'm waiting to hear the review on that. So stay on top of it. Stay on top of it and keep telling your friends and your family and your people. So we're still grinding to 1,000. So.
Oh yeah, what a journey it's been so far.
It's something.
Especially with the switching of the shifts.
So I'm sure Brian can't wait to get back on, day shift where normal people time and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm not staying up until 20 some odd hours.
So again, we appreciate everything, and like and subscribe and all that. And we thank you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.